It is said that thought rules the world. Thought always finds its way into action. Ralph Waldo Emerson said, "Thought is the property of those only who can entertain it." He also said, "Man is what he thinks all day long." Learn to respect and have wholesome regard for your thoughts. Your health, happiness, success in life, as well as your general peace of mind are largely determined by your awareness of the power of thought. You have heard it said that thoughts are things, and that thoughts execute themselves. Your thought is a mental vibration and a definite power. Your action is but the outer and worldly manifestation and expression of your individual thought. If your thoughts are wise, your actions will be wise. When you conceive and ponder the thought, you are really releasing its latent power into action. William Shakespeare said, "Our thoughts are ours, their ends none of our own." Think of whatsoever things are true, lovely, and elevating, and be assured of the authority of your thought. Believe in the cosmic powers of your thought, and you will discover that thinking makes it so. Whatever you think and feel is true, that you will bring into life. Your thought and feeling creates your destiny. Feeling, insofar as your thought is concerned, means interest. This is the meaning of the biblical phrase, "As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he." When you are vitally interested in your profession, work, or special assignment, you will be successful because you have your heart in it. You are thinking in depth or feeling the reality of your thought, which is thinking in the heart. Think with confidence in the power of your thought, and wonders will happen in your life. Thinking in cosmic truth brought him several promotions. While I was talking to a detective last year, he told me that a case had baffled him for many months, and he had been thinking of a solution and guidance, but no answer came. I discovered that he believed it was a very difficult case, that the culprits had left the country, and that his search was thus more or less hopeless. I told him the first thing he had to do was to change the belief or thought in his heart, his inner feeling nature, that actually he was double-minded, and that it was mandatory that he change his belief by realizing that infinite cosmic intelligence in his subconscious is all-wise and all-knowing, and can reveal to him the whereabouts of the criminals who participated in the theft. He realized immediately that his prayer and thinking had been contradictory, and that his head said one thing, but that his heart said another. Therefore nothing happened. He used this formula. I have a deep abiding faith and conviction in the supremacy of the infinite intelligence within me. I am now turning over my request to this particular case to my deeper mind, which is the great fabricator. And I know the answer will come automatically through my subconscious mind. I know that this belief in my heart is at this moment operating in the divine order, and I give thanks for the answer. He turned over his request to his subconscious mind each night, as if they were the first time he had done it, thereby continuously reinforcing his thought pattern. At the end of 1 week, he had succeeded in penetrating the deeper layers of his subconscious mind, and he had reached a conviction. On the morning of the 8th day, as he was shaving, the thought popped into his mind of a certain small town in Southern California. He went there with his partner and found the two men in a bar, arrested them, and recovered the stolen jewels. He had thereby proved without a doubt the wonders of thinking with cosmic authority. A remarkable case of a man from India. Not long ago, while I was lecturing in Palm Springs, I met a man in a spa hotel who said, "Do you remember what you told me in India about 16 years ago?" I did not recall the man or the conversation. However, he reminded me of our conversation. He had wanted to come to America, but he was thinking of the difficulties of procuring a passport, the quota system, his financial destitution, and his lack of friends in the United States. I told him that he was just thinking of obstacles, difficulties, and impediments, and reaching to environments and conditions. This was not true thinking, rather it was foolish and absurd, because the mind magnifies what it looks upon. He showed me the prayer that I had written for him over 15 years ago. Infinite intelligence responds to my thought, for its nature is responsive, and I know the way will open for me to go to the United States in divine order. I think about this quietly and with interest until I get the response which satisfies me. As I think quietly, vividly, and lovingly on the answer of my prayer, I know I am activating the subjective wisdom in my subconscious mind. It then takes time over and compels me to take all steps necessary for the realization of my desire. He remarked that he had meditated along these lines morning and night for about a month, at the end of which time he had met an American industrialist for whom he had acted as a guide to many parts of India. The American, who was highly impressed with the man, arranged for his passage in New York and employed him as his private chauffeur at a wonderful salary. This man knew what he was doing mentally, and his subconscious mind, which received the impress of his thought, had acted on the mind of the New York industrialist, causing him to fulfill the desire of this man in India. You must remember that all men and women who seem to help you to attain your objectives are simply messengers employed by your deeper cosmic mind to aid you in the unfoldment of the drama of your life. How to know if you are really thinking with cosmic power? A man recently asked me, how do I know when I am truly thinking? Well, that is a good question, and the answer I gave him is simply this. You are thinking when you are activating your mind from the standpoint of eternal verities and the cosmic truth of God, which are the same yesterday, today, and forever. You are not thinking in the true sense of the term when you are reacting to the headlines in a newspaper, radio propaganda, or from the standpoint of tradition, dogma, creeds, or environmental conditions or circumstance. This man who asked the question had been, as a matter of course, merely swallowing the thoughts of the columnists in the LA Times, and he was full of the ideas of local and state politicians. These are not his thoughts. Rather, they were thoughts of others and were mostly of a negative nature. He immediately saw the light and began to think for himself, taking it as a spiritual yardstick. Whatsoever things are true, whatsoever things are honest, whatsoever things are just, whatsoever things are pure, whatsoever things are lovely, whatsoever things are of good report, if there be any virtue, and if there be any praise, think on these things. Philippians 4:8. Whenever any thought or ideas were propounded to him, he would reason between the two opposing ideas or thoughts and come to a conclusion in his mind as to what was true from the standpoint of spiritual principles. When the thought of failure came to him from time to time, he always affirmed boldly, the cosmic infinite cannot fail. I was born to succeed. Success is mine now, and the infinite intelligence in my subconscious mind responds and gives me the power, the strength, and the answer I need. He is now thinking from the standpoint of what is true of God, which is true cosmic thinking. There is no longer any fear or worry in his thinking, and his mind is serene. How a mother stopped reacting to negative suggestions. A distraught mother recently came to see me, worrying that her son would get polio. Also, the description of cancer on television and the radio disturbed her, and she imagined that she had some of these symptoms about which she had learned. It seemed that every wind that blew affected her. She was not really thinking. She was reacting to the fears and negativity of the world. I clarified in her mind the power of cosmic thought, stating that every thought tends to manifest itself except it is neutralized by the counter thought of greater intensity and force, and that real spiritual thinking was completely free from fear and anxiety. She began to perceive that all her fears were but reactions to rumors, false beliefs, and an erroneous view of things. In other words, she was making externals the cause, instead of realizing that the creative cosmic power was within her, and would flow instantly in response to her directed thought. She came to a simple, forthright conclusion in her mind that hereafter she would separate the chaff from the wheat, the false from the true, fear from her ideal. She realized clearly that all her fears were due simply to a false viewpoint, that is, giving power to externals and the false voices and propaganda of the world. Recently this woman exclaimed, "It is wonderful to know that I am the only thinker in my universe, that my thought is creative, and that all the suggestions, propaganda conditions, and circumstances of the world are not creative but merely suggestive, and all subject to change by my creative thought. And when I think God's thoughts, God's power is with my thoughts of good." She is now a positive and constructive thinker because she thinks from the vantage point of cosmic truth. A healing secured by cosmic thinking. I had a long talk with a woman who was quite bewildered and distraught by this passage in the Bible. If any man come to me, and hate not his father and mother and wife and children and brethren and sisters, yea, and his own life also, he cannot be my disciple. This woman had left her old traditional religion, which was that of her father and mother, and they were very critical of her. She deeply resented their gloomy pronouncement of eternal punishment for her. The explanation was the cure for her mental disturbance. I pointed out to her that the word hate in the Bible means to reject, to repudiate, and to disabase the mind of false concepts. And all that it meant was she was to start thinking for herself from the standpoint of harmony, health, peace, wholeness, and all the blessings of life. In other words, in spiritual cosmic thinking, there need be no antagonism or opposition to parents. They may have different religious beliefs, and she was to permit them to believe what they wish, and let them have their peculiarities, abnormalities, or eccentric beliefs, but she should love them in the sense that she wishes for them all the blessings of God, and she was to think kindly and lovingly of them at all times. She should, however, refuse and completely reject mentally the religious beliefs of her parents without any rancor or bitterness. I explained that Jesus was simply speaking in a parabolic way, exhorting men and women to follow wisdom and the eternal truth of life, and to reject all erroneous beliefs and concepts about God, life, and the universe. How she gained love and goodwill. She gave up all her resentment and anger towards her parents and realized that as she worshipped, honored, and gave allegiance to the God presence within, she automatically had love and goodwill in her heart for her parents and for all men and women in the world. Love is the fulfilling of the cosmic law. A case of a seemingly virtuous man deprived of good fortune. A few months ago I interviewed a man who stated, "I don't drink, smoke, gamble, or commit adultery. Yet I am plagued by losses, misfortune, and business failures, and I have been going to a psychiatrist for a mental disorder for over a year with no results. Why is God punishing me so?" He was a member of a certain Orthodox church. Apparently he followed all the rules and tenets of the church meticulously from an external standpoint. And he prayed every night and morning and believed himself to be a good man, loyal and faithful to God. Now he was grumbling and growling against God and claiming that God was not playing fair with him. I taught this man the simple workings of his own mind and gave the reasons for all his troubles by elucidating on the fact that he could keep all the rules and regulations and practices all the formal rites of his religion and still bring all sorts of limitation, trials, tribulations, and suffering on himself by wrong thinking and false concepts. His false concept that God, the supreme intelligence within him, was punishing him, brought on all his difficulties by the very laws of his mind. As he thinketh in his heart, so is he. Actually, he was tormenting and persecuting himself by his false belief. Moreover, he had a fear of failure, which actually attracted failure in business and other ventures. I also pointed out to him that it is not the body that commits adultery or remains virtuous. The body moves as it is moved by the mind. It acts as it is mentally acted upon. Your body cannot make you commit errors or steal, rob, or defraud. You mentally decree something, and your body follows your mental orders. Your thoughts and feelings govern your life and are the cause of your experience. The interaction of your conscious and subconscious mind is the basis of all the events in your life. If you come to a false or an erroneous decision in your conscious mind, your subconscious mind accepts your decree, good, bad, or indifferent, and produces events and experiences according to your conscious mind belief. This explanation appealed to him, and he began to use the following prayer regularly, morning, noon, and prior to sleep at night. I stay my mind upon God, and I am kept in perfect peace. In this peace of God I find order, harmony, and divine love. No word of God shall be void of power. The words I speak are full of spirit and full of life. I acknowledge God in all my affairs and transactions. My mind is stayed on Him. I am blessed and prospered by the activity of the law of good operating in my life. All my statements of truth are charged with life, love, and meaning and cosmic wisdom. The words I speak make a deep impression on my deeper mind. I am glad that I know God dwells in my heart, for God is the very life of me. The good sinks into my heart. Behold, I dwell with thee, O man of God, and thou dwellest with me. I know that when I look at my fellow man, I am seeing God in human form. I bless and send forth loving thoughts to all mankind. I speak the word now. My words are creative. The deeper mind within me responds. I now decree perfect health, harmony, and peace in my home, my heart, and in all affairs. I know and believe that God is guiding me now in all ways, and that infinite cosmic spirit governs all my actions. I have decreed it, it shall come to pass. I have found the jewel of eternity in my own heart. This man has received several promotions in his place of employment, a large industrial firm, and has found the peace that passes understanding. How to advance by beating the law of average. A beautician asked me why she hadn't been getting ahead and making more money. She also complained that she felt inferior and unwanted, and she was really down on herself. She was neither good nor bad. She earned a mediocre income and was living in a backward area of town. She was not thinking for herself, but rather was producing an experience according to the law of averages. This law of average is simply the mind of the masses, which impinges on all of us, and which automatically believes in sickness, accident, disease, failure, and misfortune of all kind. The mass mind is mostly negative, but there is also much good in it. Such is the constructive thinking of millions of spiritually minded people who pour into the mass mind thoughts of love, peace, joy, success, confidence, and faith in God and all things good. However, these people are outnumbered by the vast majority of people who dwell in negativity and ignorance. This is why no one should live solely according to the law of averages. If you do not think for yourself and keep within cosmic consciousness, you will automatically be a victim of the mass mind, which impinges on the receptive medium of your mind. It will do all your thinking for you, resulting in negation and troubles of all kinds for you personally. This young lady learned that what she was experiencing was a sum total of all she ever thought, plus the thoughts and beliefs of others, since she failed to think for herself. She began to activate her conscious mind spiritually, which soon became a law of action at her subconscious level. She began to discover a vast difference between spiritual, cosmic thinking and average mass thinking. In average mass thinking, you are not in control of your thought life, and you are not giving correct commands to your subconscious. As she began her deliberate conscious mind selection of spiritual ideas, these automatically became impressed in her subconscious mind, and wonders began to happen in her life. She meditated on the following prayer several times a day. I know and realize that God is a spirit moving within me, and I know that God is a feeling or deep conviction of harmony, health, and peace within me. It is the movement of my own heart. The spirit or feeling of confidence and faith which now possesses me is the Spirit of God and the action of God in the waters of my mind. This is God. It is the creative power within me. I live, move, and have my being in the faith and confidence that goodness, truth, and beauty shall follow me all the days of my life. This faith in God and all things good is omnipotent. It removes all barriers. I now close the door of the senses. I withdraw all attention from the world. I turn within to the One, the beautiful and the good. Here I dwell with my Father beyond time and space. Here I live, move, and dwell in the shadow of the Almighty. I am free from all fear. From the verdict of the world and the appearance of things, I now feel His presence, which is the feeling of the answered prayer, or the presence of my good. I become that which I contemplate. I now feel that I am what I want to be. This feeling or awareness is the action of God in me. It is the creative power. I give thanks for the joy of the answered prayer, and I rest in the silence that it is done. This young lady is now the proud owner of her own beauty salon and is successfully moving onward. Chapter summary. Thought rules the world. Man is what he thinks all day long. Learn to respect and to have a wholesome regard for your thoughts and their power in your life. Believe in the power of your thought, and you will discover that thinking makes it so. Belief is one thing, and thought is another. In order for spiritual thoughts to be 100% effective, you must change your false beliefs about God or the cosmic good and His laws. If you think of a successful achievement, but believe you are going to fail, your belief of failure will be made manifest. Change your false belief and realize that you were born to succeed. Your thoughts of success will then become a reality. The infinite within you cannot fail. You are really thinking when there is no fear or worry in your thought. You are truly thinking when you realize there is an infinite cosmic intelligence which responds to your thought. It is all-powerful, all-wise, and knows all. When your thought is clear on that, then the infinite power of your subconscious mind will respond, giving you the answer. In spiritual thinking, you separate the chaff from the wheat, the fear from your desire, and you come to a definite conclusion that there is only one power which responds to your thought. Never give power to created things or to externals. In other words, never give power to any created thing. Give power only to the creative power within you, which responds to your thought. This banishes all fear. You are not thinking when you are simply reacting to and agreeing with newspaper headlines, gossip, radio propaganda, and the opinions and false belief of others. You are thinking only when you think and interpret from the standpoint of God and His laws. You are the only thinker in your universe, and you are responsible for the way in which you think. The suggestions and statements of others have no power, and you can reject everything unlike the truth of the God. Reject everything that does not fit your soul with joy. The word hate in the Bible means to disavow, to reject, and to repudiate all false concepts of God. If you think that God is punishing, you will simply inflict on yourself misery and suffering of all kinds because of your negation, destructive thinking. The body does not commit adultery or steal or defraud. Your body cannot make you commit an error. You mentally think or decree a thing, and your body follows your mental order. The law of average is the mass mind, which is composed of all manner of thoughts of the average mind, which believes mostly in sickness, misfortune, accidents, tragedies, and negation of all kind. If you do not do your own thinking, this mass mind, or the law of averages, will do all your thinking for you and make a frightful mess of your life.